The next hour passed in frantic preparation. The ship lacked the firepower to defeat the Voxar, but perhaps they could outmaneuver them long enough for help to arrive. Amber worked with the science team to analyze Voxar biological weaknesses while Zara provided what intelligence she had about their technology. As the deadline approached, Captain Garcia gathered her senior officers and Zara in the conference room. The Voxar believe they are superior to both our species, she said, her expression grim, but they have never faced humans and Luminarians working together. Amber recognized the determined look in the captain's eyes. It was the same expression that had led humans to overcome impossible odds throughout their history. Zara studied the tactical display, her long fingers tracing potential escape routes. We could use the nebula to mask our energy signature, she suggested, but we would need to distract them first. What about the experimental cloaking technology? Amber asked, remembering a project the engineering team had been developing. It wasn't fully tested, but in desperate times, Captain Garcia nodded. We have no choice. Prepare the cloak and set course for the nebulae. The crew rushed to implement the plan. Amber found herself working alongside Zara. Their minds seemed to connect as they developed a strategy combining Luminarian knowledge of Voxar psychology with human ingenuity. In the final minutes before the deadline, Zara pulled Amber aside, her skin glowing with determination. If we survive this, she whispered, I still want an answer to my question. Amber looked into those alien eyes and found herself smiling despite the danger. Ask me again when we make it through this, she replied. The battle that followed would later be recorded in both human and Luminarian history, a small outmatched vessel outwitting a superior force through unpredictable tactics and the combined brilliance of two species working as one. The experimental cloak failed after only 17 minutes, but it was enough to confuse the Voxar sensors long enough for the horizon to reach the nebula. As they hid among the stellar clouds, making repairs and waiting for reinforcements, Amber found Zara in the observation lounge. The alien woman was staring out at the swirling colors, her skin reflecting the cosmic light show. You never answered my question, Zara said. Sensing Amber's presence without turning, Amber moved to stand beside her, their hands nearly touching on the railing. Why don't you date me? Human, why indeed? Dating across species would be complicated. Amber began carefully. But humans have a saying that nothing worth doing is ever easy. Zara's skin brightened with hope. Do you mean? Amber smiled, turning to face the beautiful alien woman. I mean, I'd like to try, she admitted. We might be making history here, the first human Luminarian couple. But I think some histories are worth making. Zara reached out, her slender fingers intertwining with Amber's. The contact sent a pleasant warmth through Amber's body, unlike anything she'd ever experienced. My people believe that souls recognize each other across the stars, Zara whispered. Perhaps yours and mine were always meant to find each other, as they stood together watching the nebula swirl around their damaged but defiant ship. Amber realized that humanity had always been defined by its willingness to embrace the unknown, to connect across differences, to love. Despite challenges, the moment was interrupted by the ship's communication system. Captain Garcia to all crew, prepare for emergency maneuvers. The Voxar have discovered our position. Amber and Zara rushed back to their stations as the ship lurched into motion. The nebula's gases swirled around them, providing some cover. But the Voxar weapons were already firing, cutting through the cosmic clouds with deadly precision. Chief Engineer Kelly Martinez's voice came over the comm system. The cloak is repaired, but it will only hold for 5 minutes at most. 5 minutes, Amber thought. That wasn't much time, but it might be enough for what she had in mind. She looked at Zara, who seemed to read her thoughts. The Luminarian nodded. I know what you are thinking, she said. It could work, but it would be dangerous. Amber turned to Captain Garcia. I have a plan, she said, quickly explaining her idea. The captain listened, her expression shifting from doubt to consideration. It's risky, Garcia said, but we don't have many options left. She turned to the helm officer. Implement Dr. Reed's plan. The ship dove deeper into the nebula, its repaired cloak activating just as 3 Voxar vessels converged on their position. Meanwhile, a small shuttle launched from the Horizon's bay, carrying a modified beacon designed to mimic the energy signature of a sea luminarian life form. The shuttle, programmed to follow a complex path away from the ship, broadcasted the false signature, drawing the Voxar vessels away from the horizon. This gave the human ship precious minutes to reach the far side of the nebula. Amber watched the tactical display, her breath held as the shuttle played its deadly game of cat and mouse with the enemy ships. It was working. The Voxar were following the decoy, believing they were chasing Zarawe. Just need to hold out for another 40 minutes, Captain Garcia said. Earth reinforcements will arrive then. The plan was working almost too well when suddenly one of the Voxar vessels broke away from the pursuit, turning back toward the nebula. They realized it's a trick, Lily announced from her station. They're scanning the entire region with some kind of advanced detection system. Amber felt Zara's hand on her shoulder. We need another diversion. The alien woman said, her voice steady. I could take a shuttle and draw them away. No, Amber replied, immediately. That is exactly what they want. Then what do we do? Lily asked. Amber thought quickly, her mind racing through possibilities. Then she remembered something from her xenobiology studies. The Voxar evolved on a planet with high electromagnetic fields, she said. Their sensory systems are extremely sensitive to electrical currents. Even with their technology, they can't fully shield against their biology. Captain Garcia caught on immediately. You want to overload their sensors. Exactly, Amber replied. If we can modify our deflector array to emit a pulse at the right frequency. Chief Engineer Martinez was already inputting calculations, but a pulse that strong could damage our own systems. She warned, it's a risk we have to take. Amber said. The captain nodded. Make it happen. The silver moonlight cascaded through the viewport of Starship Horizon as Amber Reed stared out at the vast expanse of space before her. She had been the chief xenobiologist on this mission for 3 years, now studying the various life forms they encountered across the galaxy. But nothing had prepared her for their latest discovery. The Luminarians were a species unlike any other. Their bioluminescent skin glowed with patterns that seemed to shift with their emotions, and their eyes held a depth of intelligence that Amber found both fascinating and terrifying. She watched as Ambassador Zara approached her quarters, her tall, slender figure moving with impossible grace. Zara was the daughter of the Luminarian High Council leader and had volunteered to join the human vessel as a cultural exchange representative. But Amber had noticed the way Zara looked at her during their diplomatic meetings. There was something in those iridescent eyes that made her heart race. Amber straightened, her uniform as the door chimed. She took a deep breath before allowing the ambassador entry. Zara glided into the room, her skin pulsing with soft blue light. Amber had learned this indicated curiosity, or perhaps excitement. The alien woman stood nearly 7 feet tall, her elongated limbs and delicate features creating an ethereal appearance that many humans found intimidating. But Amber saw beyond the physical differences. She saw the person beneath. What brings you to my quarters at this hour? Ambassador Amber asked, trying to keep her voice steady and professional. Zara tilted her head slightly, the way she always did when considering her words carefully. The humans on this vessel call me ambassador, but my people believe titles create unnecessary distance between souls. She said, her voice melodic with an accent that made ordinary words sound like poetry. Please, call me Zara. Amber nodded, uncertain how to respond. The cultural protocols regarding Luminarian interaction were still being established, and she didn't want to cause any diplomatic incidents. I have been studying your human customs. Zara continued, moving closer. Her proximity sent a wave of sweet floral scent through the air, a natural pheromone that Luminarians emitted. I find many of them confusing but also beautiful. Which customs? Amber asked, genuinely curious about what aspects of humanity had captured the alien woman's interest. The concept of dating, Zara replied, her skin shifting to a soft purple hue Amber recognized as vulnerability. In my culture, partnerships are arranged based on genetic compatibility and societal benefit. But humans choose based on attraction and emotional connection. I find this fascinating. Amber swallowed hard, suddenly aware of where this conversation might be heading. The mission guidelines strictly prohibited romantic entanglements with alien species not out of prejudice, but due to unknown biological and psychological compatibility issues. The silence stretched between them until Zara finally spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why don't you date me?" Human Amber's heart pounded in her chest. The question was both innocent and loaded with implications. She knew she should politely decline, explain the regulations, remind Zara of their professional relationship. But something stopped her. Perhaps it was the genuine curiosity in Zara's expression, or maybe it was her own loneliness after years in deep space. Before Amber could formulate a response, the ship alarm blared. Through the speakers, red emergency lights bathing the room in crimson glow. All personnel to emergency stations, Ambassador Zara to the bridge. Immediately, the captain's voice commanded. Over the intercom, Zara's skin flashed with patterns of concern. She looked at Amber apologetically. "We will continue this discussion later," she promised before gliding out the door. Amber rushed to her station in the xenobiology lab where her assistant Lily West was already reviewing incoming data. "What happened?" she asked breathlessly. Lily pointed to the screen. "The Voxar fleet has entered this sector," she explained, referring to the notorious species known for their aggressive expansion and disregard for other intelligent life. "They claim, the Luminarians, have violated their territory by allying with humans. They demand we surrender Zara or face destruction." Amber's blood ran cold. The Voxar were ruthless, their technology far superior to human defenses. The only advantage humans had ever had was their unpredictability and determination qualities. The Voxar dismissed as primitive. On the main screen, the Voxar commander appeared, his exoskeleton gleaming with cybernetic enhancements. "The human vessel will surrender the Luminarian princess or be destroyed," he stated, his translator converting the clicking language into flat, emotionless English. "You have 1 hour to comply." The bridge crew looked to Captain Susan Garcia, who stood resolute before the screen. "We do not surrender our guests," she replied, her voice unwavering. "We request diplomatic negotiations." The Voxar commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "You mistake your position, human. This is not a negotiation." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Amber made her way to the bridge where she found Zara standing beside the captain. Her luminescence had dimmed to almost nothing, a sign of extreme distress. "I should surrender myself," Zara said quietly. "My life is not worth the destruction of your vessel." And Crew Captain Garcia shook her head firmly. "No, Ambassador. That is not how we do things." The captain turned to her tactical officer, Leah Brooks. "Prepare defensive measures and contact Earth Command for reinforcements." Amber approached Zara gently, touching her arm. The alien's skin brightened slightly at the contact. "We will find another way," she promised, feeling a fierce protectiveness she hadn't expected. The next few minutes were a blur of activity, as the engineering team worked to modify the deflector array. Amber and Zara joined them, offering insights from their respective scientific backgrounds. The Voxar vessel was closing in its weapon systems, charging. The tension on the bridge was palpable, as everyone watched the distance shrinking between the ships, ready to emit the pulse, Captain Martinez reported. Her fingers hovering over the controls. "Wait for my mark," Garcia replied, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The timing had to be perfect. Too soon and the Voxar would have time to recover. Too late and their weapons would fire first. The enemy ship was almost upon them when Garcia gave the command. Now the modified deflector array activated, sending a massive electromagnetic pulse through the nebula. The energy wave hit the Voxar vessel, causing its systems to fluctuate wildly, its weapons powered down as the ship's crew struggled to compensate for the sensory overload, but the Horizon wasn't unaffected. The pulse knocked out several systems, including life support on 2 decks and the main engine's damage report, Garcia demanded. Martinez's voice cracked over the comm system. "Main engines offline, auxiliary power at 60%. Life support failing on decks 4 and 5. We're working to reroute power, but we need at least 10 minutes. We don't have 10 minutes. Lily warned, looking at the tactical display. "The other Voxar ships have detected the pulse. They're heading back this Way and our cloak is completely fried. Amber felt a moment of despair. They had bought some time, but not enough. The Earth reinforcements were still 30 minutes out. Too far to help. Zara suddenly straightened, her luminescence intensifying to an almost blinding level. I can help, she said, her voice taking on a resonance Amber hadn't heard before. What do you mean? The captain asked. My people can connect with certain technologies telepathically, Zara explained. It is an ability we rarely share with outsiders. But I can interface with your ship systems, boost the remaining powers. That safe? Amber asked, concerned. Both for Zara and the ship. The Luminarian princess smiled softly at her. It carries risks, but we have no alternatives. Captain, Garcia studied Zara for a moment before nodding. Take her to engineering, she ordered. Amber escorted Zara to the engine room, where the chief engineer looked skeptical but desperate enough to try anything. The Luminarian approached the main console, her skin beginning to pulse with complex patterns of light. You should step back, Zara warned everyone. This connection can produce unpredictable energy discharges. The engineering crew moved away, giving her space. Amber lingered a moment longer. Then, anyone else? I will be fine, Zara assured her. Go. Reluctantly, Amber joined the others, watching from behind a protective barrier as Zara placed her hands on the console. Her entire body began to glow, her luminescence spreading into the ship systems, like living electricity. The lights throughout the ship flickered, then stabilized, growing brighter than before. On the bridge, Captain Garcia watched in amazement as systems began coming back online. Engines are responding, she reported over the comm, power levels rising throughout the ship. Amber could see the effort it was taking Zara. Her slender frame trembled with exertion, sweat beading on her bioluminescent skin. Despite her concern, Amber couldn't help but feel awe at the sight. This was an aspect of Luminarian biology that had never been documented before. The ship's engines hummed back to life just as the Voxar fleet appeared on the edge of the nebula. They fired immediately, but the horizon was already moving, diving deeper into the cosmic cloud. Zara maintained her connection with the ship. Her consciousness seemingly spread throughout its systems. She guided the vessel's movements with instinctive precision, evading enemy fire with maneuvers no human pilot could have executed. Hold on, everyone, Garcia commanded as the ship spun and dove through the nebula. The inertial dampeners strained to compensate, making everyone grip onto whatever was nearby. Through it all, Amber kept her eyes on Zara. The alien woman was clearly reaching her limits, her luminescence flickering like a dying star. Amber wanted to pull her away from the console, but knew that would endanger them all. Just a little longer. Amber whispered, hoping somehow Zara could hear her. The ship emerged from the far side of the nebula, accelerating to maximum speed. The Voxar vessels pursued, firing continuously, but the horizon managed to stay just ahead of their weapons' range. 20 minutes to reinforcement arrival, Lily announced on the bridge. Can we hold out that long? Martinez asked. The answer came from Zara, her voice echoing through the ship's speakers somehow. Yes, but I cannot maintain this connection much longer. Choose a place to make your stand. Captain Garcia didn't hesitate. The Calderon asteroid field, she decided. We know that terrain, they don't. The ship changed course, heading for a dense field of asteroids several light minutes away. It was a dangerous choice, but it offered hiding places and tactical advantages as they approached the asteroid field. Zara finally disconnected from the ship systems, collapsing to the floor. Amber rushed to her side, cradling the alien woman's head. Zara, Amber called, her voice thick with emotion. Zara, please wake up. The Luminarian's eyes fluttered open, her luminescence dim but present. You humans, she whispered, her voice weak but amused, always so emotional. Relief flooded through Amber as she helped Zara to her feet. The alien was exhausted but alive. The ship entered the asteroid field, slowing to navigational speed. The massive rocks provided cover as Captain Garcia implemented a strategy of hide and seek, keeping the Voxar vessels guessing about their location. Amber brought Zara to the medical bay, where Dr. Nicole Porter examined her with fascination. I've never seen anything like this, she said, scanning the Luminarion's vital signs. Your cellular structure is actually regenerating itself at an accelerated rate. The connection with our technology triggered some kind of healing response. Zara nodded weakly. It is how our ancestors survived cosmic radiation storms on our homeworld, she explained. Our bodies adapt to energy. Our minds can direct it. It is rarely needed in modern times. You saved all our lives, Amber said, holding Zara's hand. The alien woman's fingers were cool to the touch but gradually warming. Zara smiled, her luminescence brightening slightly. I merely provided the energy. Your ship and crew did the rest. Your species builds remarkable vessels. Dr. Porter left them alone, moving to treat other crew members who had sustained injuries during the battle. Amber sat beside Zara on the medical bed. Why did you risk yourself like that? She asked. The Luminarion was quiet for a moment before answering. Because I believe in connections, she said finally. Connections between people, between species, between hearts. She looked directly at Amber. The question I asked you before all this began was not merely curiosity. I feel drawn to you in ways I cannot explain. My people believe in soul resonance, the idea that certain beings are meant to find each other across the vastness of space. Amber felt her heart racing again, but this time not from fear. When I first saw you, she admitted, I felt it too. Something I couldn't explain. A recognition. Their moment was interrupted by the captain's voiceover. The comm system Voxar vessels approaching our position. All hands to battle stations. Amber squeezed Zara's hand. I need to get to my station, she said reluctantly. Go, Zara urged. I will rest, then join you. The battle in the asteroid field lasted nearly 15 minutes. The Horizon used the environment to its advantage, hiding behind larger rocks, using smaller ones as projectiles against the Voxar ships. Captain Garcia proved herself a masterful tactician, leading the enemy vessels into traps and ambushes, just as it seemed they might actually survive until reinforcements arrived. A Voxar vessel managed to lock weapons directly on the Horizon's engine section. Brace for impact, the captain shouted. The blast rocked the ship, sending systems offline. Throughout the vessel, Amber was thrown from her seat in the lab, hitting her head against a bulkhead. The world went dark for several moments. When she regained consciousness, the emergency lights were on and smoke filled the corridor. She pulled herself to her feet, disoriented but determined to find Zara. The medical bay was in chaos, injured crew members everywhere. Dr. Porter worked frantically to treat the most severe cases. But Zara was gone. Where is the ambassador? Amber asked, grabbing a passing medical technician she left heading for the shuttle bay. The technician replied before rushing off. Amber felt a wave of dread wash over her. The shuttle bay. That could only mean one thing. Zara was planning to surrender herself to save the ship, Amber whispered, breaking into a run despite her injuries. The ship shuddered again as another blast hit. She stumbled against the wall but kept moving. The corridor seemed endless as she made her way down to the shuttle level. She found Zara preparing a small shuttle, her movements efficient and determined. What are you doing? Amber demanded. Zara didn't look up. I am doing what is necessary, she replied. I will not allow more humans to die, protecting me. Amber moved forward, grabbing Zara's arm. The alien's skin was cold, her luminescence barely visible. You can't do this, she pleaded. There has to be another way. The Voxar want me. Zara said, her voice calm. If I surrender, they will leave your ship alone. And what do you think they will do to you? Amber asked. They want you because they fear what an alliance between our species could mean. They will make an example of you. I have accepted that possibility. Zara replied. Amber shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. We are 10 minutes from reinforcements arriving, she argued. You just need to wait. Another explosion rocked the ship larger than before. The lights flickered, emergency power. Only the computer announced shields at 12%. We don't have 10 minutes. Zara said gently, touching Amber's face. This is the only way. Suddenly, Captain Garcia's voice came over the comm system. All hands abandon ship. Repeat. All hands abandon ship. Amber stared at Zara in shock. The captain was ordering evacuation. The situation was worse than she'd realized. Zara said. The ship is lost, either way. I must go to the Voxar. But perhaps I can buy time for the escape pods. No, Amber insisted, gripping Zara's shoulders tightly. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Zara smiled sadly. What would you have me do? Amber thought, quickly, her mind racing through possibilities. Then it hit her. An idea so crazy it might actually work. What if we give them what they want? She said, but not how they expect. Zara tilted her head in confusion. The Voxar demand your surrender, Amber explained, but they don't specify how that surrender happens. What if we surrender you along with the ship? Understanding dawned in Zara's eyes. You mean? Amber nodded grimly. We set the self-destruct sequence on a timer. We send a message saying, you will surrender. We take this shuttle straight to their command ship. Once we're aboard, the Horizon explodes, taking a good portion of their fleet with it. It is a suicide mission. Zara pointed out. Not necessarily, Amber said with a slight smile. All we need is a diversion, long enough for the reinforcements to arrive. If we time it right, we could beam out at the last second. It was desperate, it was risky, but it was better than watching Zara sacrifice herself. Captain Garcia was skeptical when they presented the plan, via comm, but they were running out of options. The remaining crew was already evacuating in escape pods. The ship was failing around them. Very well, Garcia said finally. I'll set the self-destruct for 15 minutes. That should give you time to reach the Voxar command vessel. She paused, then added, Good luck. Amber and Zara prepared the shuttle while Captain Garcia sent a transmission to the Voxar commander, announcing Ambassador Zara's decision to surrender. Their reply was immediate. They would allow a single shuttle to dock with their command vessel. Amber and Zara boarded the shuttle. They shared a look that conveyed everything words could not hope to express. Whatever happens next. Amber said, we face it together. Always, Zara replied her, luminescence brightening with resolve. The shuttle launched from the dying horizon, heading directly for the massive Voxar command ship. Its sleek predatory design made Amber's skin crawl, but she kept her focus on the plan. They had less than 15 minutes before the horizon self-destructed. The Voxar ship allowed them to dock in a cavernous hangar bay. As the shuttle doors opened, they were met by a contingent of Voxar soldiers. Their armored exoskeletons gleamed in the harsh lighting, their mandibles clicking in what might have been anticipation. Zara stepped forward, her head held high. I am Ambassador Zara of the Luminarian High Council, she announced, her voice steady. I surrender myself to prevent further bloodshed. The Voxar commander stepped forward, his cybernetic enhancements more extensive than those of his soldiers. So the princess herself comes to us, he said through his translator, and she brings a human pet. How amusing, Amber bit back a retort, knowing they needed to play for time. Take us to your leader. Zara requested. We wish to formalize the terms of surrender. The commander made that strange clicking sound again. You are not in a position to make requests, but very well. Our Supreme will want to witness this historic moment. They were escorted through the ship, its architecture all sharp angles and exposed machinery. Unlike the clean lines and comfortable design of human vessels, the Voxar ship seemed designed to intimidate. Every surface looked dangerous. Every sound was jarring. Amber checked the time discreetly. 10 minutes, until detonation. They needed to stall. The throne room of the Voxar Supreme was a massive chamber filled with trophies from conquered species. Amber felt sick seeing what appeared to be preserved specimens from dozens of worlds. The Supreme was larger than the other Voxar, his exoskeleton adorned with precious metals and what appeared to be bones. He regarded them with compound eyes that revealed nothing of his thoughts. So this is the Luminarian who dared ally with humans, he said, his voice processed through multiple translators to create a disconcerting echo. And this is her human protector. Zara stepped forward again. I have come to discuss the terms of my surrender. She began. Terms, the Supreme. Interrupted. The terms are simple. You will provide us with all Luminarian defense codes and technological secrets. Then you will serve as our emissary to your people, explaining why they should accept Voxar protection. You mean Voxar domination, Amber said, unable to help herself. The Supreme turned, his attention to her. This one speaks out of turn, he observed. Perhaps we should remove her tongue. Zara moved slightly, placing herself between Amber and the Supreme. This human is under my protection, she stated. Any terms must include her safe passage, though. Supreme made a sound that might have been laughter. Safe passage to where your ship is crippled. Your fleet is too far to help, but perhaps we will keep her as a specimen. We have few human examples in our collection. Amber checked the time again. 7 minutes. They needed more delay. The Luminarians will never accept Voxar rule. Zara said, My people value freedom above all else. Freedom is an illusion, the Supreme replied. All species serve something. Whether it is their biological imperatives, their emotional weaknesses, or their false gods, every species serves. The only question is whether they recognize their masters. Amber noticed something on her scanner. A signal approaching fast. 5 minutes until detonation, but something else was happening there. Supreme continued his monologue about Voxar superiority, unaware of the horizon's impending destruction or the approaching signal. Amber needed to keep him talking. Why do you hate humans so much? She asked, interrupting the Supreme. The Voxar leader turned to her, his compound eyes glittering. Hate. You misunderstand. We do not hate humans. We find you fascinating. Your species is hopelessly outmatched in every measurable way. Your technology is primitive. Your lifespans, brief, your physical forms, fragile. Yet you persist, you fight when you should surrender. You form alliances when you should compete. You value sentiment over logic. His mandibles clicked rapidly. It is not hatred that drives us human. It is fear. Fear of what your kind might become, if left unchecked. We have seen the pattern across the galaxy. Species like yours evolving rapidly, adapting, overcoming. We eliminate such threats before they mature. 3 minutes. Amber saw the approaching signal more clearly now. Earth reinforcements. They were ahead of schedule. The plan might actually work. Zara seemed to sense it too, her luminescence brightening slightly. Yet, for all your power, she said to the Supreme, you fear what we might become together. That is why you demanded my surrender, not because of any territorial violation, but because you fear what humans and Luminarians might accomplish as allies. The Supreme rose from his throne, towering over them. Enough of this discussion, he snapped. Guards, take the Luminarian to the extraction chamber. The human goes to the specimen processing unit. 1 minute. Amber looked at Zara. Now she mouthed. Zara nodded, and suddenly her entire body erupted in blinding light, filling the throne room with a radiance so intense it overloaded the Voxar visual systems. The aliens recoiled, hissing in pain. Amber activated her emergency beacon, the signal that would allow the approaching Earth vessels to lock onto their position. For several chaotic seconds, the throne room was a scene of confusion. Voxar soldiers stumbling blindly. Zara maintaining her brilliant glow. Amber holding the beacon high. 30 seconds. The familiar sensation of a transport beam began to tingle across Amber's skin. She reached for Zara, pulling the alien woman close as their molecules began to disassemble. The last thing Amber saw was the Voxar Supreme's compound eyes, widening in understanding and fury. They materialized on the bridge of the Earth battleship. Intrepid Captain Garcia was there, having been rescued earlier from the Horizon Ambassador human science officer. Welcome aboard, the captain greeted them with a relieved smile. Cutting it rather close, aren't you? As if in response to her words, a massive explosion lit up the view screen. The Horizon detonated, taking 3 Voxar vessels with it, including their command ship. The remaining enemy vessels suddenly found themselves facing not only the destruction of their leadership, but the arrival of 5 Earth battleships. The Voxar fleet retreated without further engagement. In the days that followed, there was much to discuss. The alliance between humans and Luminarians was formalized, strengthened by the shared experience of the battle. Representatives from both governments met to discuss joint defense, strategies, and cultural exchanges. Amber found Zara in the observation lounge of the Intrepid. staring out at the stars much as she had on the horizon. The alien woman turned, sensing her presence. "We never finished our conversation," Amber said, moving to stand beside her. Zara smiled, her luminescence creating gentle patterns across her skin. "Which one?" she asked. "We had many interrupted discussions." "The one about dating," Amber replied, her heart still skipping at the memory. Zara said, a shimmer of amusement in her voice. "Yes, I believe I asked you a question that you never properly answered." Amber reached out, taking Zara's hand in hers. "Well, I believe actions speak louder than words," she said gently, pulling the alien woman closer. Their lips met, in a kiss that bridged not just the space between them, but the vast differences of their species. It was gentle, exploratory, and filled with promise. When they finally parted, Amber smiled up at Zara. "Is that answer enough?" she asked Zara, luminescence pulsed with joy. "I believe I understand this human custom now," she replied. They stood together, looking out at the stars that had brought them together. Against all odds, across vast distances and differences, they had found each other. And in doing so, they had changed the future for both their species. The alliance between humans and Luminarians would grow stronger because of what began on this day. Not just diplomatic ties, but the deeper connections that came when two different souls recognized something familiar in each other. "Why don't you date me?" Human Zara's question had opened a door to possibilities neither species had imagined, and Amber had walked through that door without hesitation, because that was what humans did. They explored, they connected, they loved, and in doing so they showed the galaxy why humanity, despite its flaws and limitations, could accomplish the impossible.